Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have a special guest, Ian Whyte, with us. Ian, man, he has done so much stuff. Ian, thank you for being here with us. How you doing today?
I am very well. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it is our pleasure to have you. And there's a lot to talk about, so let's get started. Is it true that you originally started out as a basketball player, retired, and then got into acting?
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately, yes, that's very true. I played basketball for England for 9 years, and one day I got a phone call from the secretary of the basketball club I was working for, and she said, "We've got a casting director on the phone. Do you want me to pass on your phone number?" And my first reaction was, "Come on, nobody wants to put me in a film." And I thought it was a joke. I said, "Yeah, sure, give him my phone number." And the next couple of minutes, the phone rang, and it was a casting director, and she was casting for Alien versus Predator.
So you literally got picked from the basketball court to appear in this really highly anticipated film, Aliens versus Predator. That is just phenomenal. Did you know of the franchise Aliens, Predator, and there was big speculation in the years prior that they were going to combine the two? Did you know what you were walking into?
Well, I kind of knew what I was walking into. I was aware of the franchises in their separate forms, the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise, but I was blissfully unaware that they had combined in a comic book form, and I knew nothing about the upcoming movie. I said to the casting director, says, "Is there anything that I can do to prepare for the audition?" She said, "Yeah, just watch the movie." So I just went through it frame by frame.
Now, prior to that, you said you were a basketball player. Did you have any kind of acting training, theatrical, or any of that?
Well, it depends how far you want to go back. You know, I was in a school production of Bugsy Malone once when I was about
uh,
7 years old.
I played Santa Claus in the fifth grade play. I don't think we can go that far back, but that's truly amazing. So, did they make you read for the role, or did they just hand it to you? This role of Scar that you played.
Oh no, no, no! It was very involved. The first day, it was like one of the hottest days of the year. A very small studio in London, not too far from King's Cross Station, and they gave me a wetsuit and a mock-up of the Predator head with big, thick black ropes as dreadlocks, and a balaclava to go underneath that, and then the helmet went on over the top. And I said, "Is this it?" And they said, "No, you can start running now." So I ran around in circles for about 40 minutes, doing little sort of action pieces to the camera because she was filming the whole thing. And then at the end, she said, "Okay, you can stop." She said, "How was that?" I said, "Well, I'd be lying if I said it was easy. It's not easy, but I can do it." And the next day, I met the director, Paul Anderson,
Hmm.
just long enough for him to put his gin and tonic down and look up at me and say, "Yeah, okay." And about 2 or 3 weeks after that, I flew to Prague to meet the award-winning creature effects designers, Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis. And it was only about 2 or 3 weeks after that meeting that I got the phone call from the producer offering me the part. So it was a very, very drawn out process.
That's an amazing story, though. So you got the role, you go on set, not really much prior acting experience. Being green to the acting world, what kind of techniques did you use back then to get into the mindset of Scar?
Well, at the time, it was a case of just do it. You know? If I had, over the years, I've done an awful lot of training and studying about how to get into, into the role of a character. But at the time, I was blissfully ignorant of anything. I just walked in every morning on set and just went for it.
when you got the script, and are you a fan of the science fiction, horror slash action realm? And were you really excited to be a part of this?
Well, yeah, it was a very exciting script. I didn't know anything about it at the time. I'm a fan of a good story,
Hmm.
and when I read the script, I was like, wow, this is a really good story.
And the movie was great. I loved it. I love the story that came up. Of course, in Antarctica, where the predators come and they've placed these aliens, and their pure motive is to just do battle and hone their predatory skills. And here, these group of humans come to see what's going on, and they end up getting slaughtered. Uh, I mean, that movie was very involved with special effects. Did that lead further down in your career? Because you have become sort of like this magician of playing mystical characters. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. But was Aliens versus Predator something that really piqued your interest into playing monsters and giants and other sort of creatures?
Can I just can I just write down magician of mystical characters because
Exactly. That's what I would
I'm
call
going to
you.
put that on my CV. Yeah, I mean, I was they're amazing. These characters. If you don't, if all you see when you're looking at the screen is a guy in a rubber suit, then I've done my job
Yeah. Yeah.
wrong from the ground up. you know, it is my job to make you believe that aliens exist, to
Hmm.
make you believe that imaginary giants exist or demons exist or anything like this. And it's there's no other industry in the world where you can go into work, first thing in the morning and say, "Hey guys, today we're going to be aliens."
That is absolutely true.
If you did that in your office, you'd be fired.
And then they brought you back for Aliens versus Predator Requiem, where you play Wolf. Uh, that is really not very common for them to do it in the modern era. Back in the 90s and before, it was done pretty often, but in today's world, not done as much. What was the difference that you wanted to put into the character of Wolf as opposed to Scar?
Well, but about 3 years elapsed between AVP and AVP Requiem, and during that time, I was doing a lot of training, a lot of martial arts training, and I was studying with a teacher, an obscure Chinese martial art called Bagua, and he does a lot of rotational movements and walking in circles, and it's a very very elegant martial art. And I decided that I would use this, the basic principles of this, to sort of bring something unique to the character. So there are scenes in when he's in the tunnels where he looks
Hmm.
like he's stalking sideways, and it's taken directly from my martial arts training.
That's beautiful. Would you say those roles helped you? Now let's fast forward to Game of Thrones. Okay, you've played four different characters on this mega hit show on HBO. I mean, calling it a mega hit show is still an understatement. Uh, is that something that the producers approached you to do? Did you volunteer to play the White Walker, to play the Giant, Wan Wan, and all these different characters? How did that go? Did you go to them, or did they come to you?
No, I didn't volunteer at all. Let me tell you a story. I auditioned for the role of the Mountain in series one. Didn't get the part. Saw who did get the part. Was like, wow, he's absolutely perfect, and got on with my life. And about 3 months later, the phone rang, and it was the producers from Game of Thrones, and they said, "Listen, we've got a part for you. Don't have to audition. It's the White Walker." And I've got one scene in the first episode.
Hmm.
The part's yours. I was like, okay, fantastic, marvelous. And so we did that scene, and the following season, they said, "Listen, we need to recast the role of the Mountain. Will you come in and audition for it?" I was like, wow, what a fantastic opportunity, you know. So I went and I auditioned for the part of the Mountain, and in the original scripts for series 2, there were some incredible scenes, some flashback scenes. Fans of Thrones will know what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is really going to test me as an actor and a human being. And I got the part, and those scenes were removed from the scripts eventually. But you know, we still had this magnificent scene with Charles Dance with
Yeah.
Lannister, where he basically is the headmaster. I've always referred to this as the headmaster scene because it has that energy, it has that vibe about it. He's the naughty schoolboy being berated by the headmaster.
Yeah.
And if there's one person that can bring an end to his life immediately, it's Lannister.
Absolutely. Gregor Clegane, the Hound's brother. Okay, the Hound is no saint himself. The Mountain is just flat out evil. How do you feel about playing antagonist roles? Not as a monster or make up any of that. Playing a person, but a pure evil human being. Do you find that fun to play?
Yes, it's fantastic fun. First of all, everyone loves the bad guy.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers the bad guy. But when you approach these characters, you must be very, very careful not to judge them. Because the moment you judge them for being, and non-human characters as well, predators, aliens, whatever, the moment you judge them, the moment you call them a monster, you judge them as being a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And every character has their own motivations. No matter how bad or evil or psychotic they are, there's always a reason behind it.
Yeah.
And the
oops.
joy of the character is getting into their mind and finding out what that is, what that thing that drives them is.
As I was watching Game of Thrones, and I gotta admit, I did not watch it while it was airing live. Me and my wife binge watched all 8 seasons after the show we
The same
binge
thing.
watched it, and I gotta say, out of all the deaths that we've seen on Game of Thrones, all of them were like deserved. They deserve to die for one reason or another. But the giant who you portrayed, and your death scene when you guys were taking back Winterfell, that made me upset. I liked that giant. He was a gentle giant, and he fought to the bitter end to help his people take back Winterfell in this alliance. And it touched me, and I think it touched a lot of other fans. What was your attachment to that character, the giant north of the wall, coming down and forming this alliance, and ultimately dying at Winterfell by a hail of arrows?
But what I loved about this character is that it was the first time in the whole series of Game of Thrones, the whole saga, that we see a character, one of these aloof semi-savages, display anything approaching humanity.
Mm-hmm.
He had a purpose. He had a role to play. He had a story arc, all of his own. And it was great to see it through to the end, from the beginning, because these two giant battles, the Battle of Hardhome and the Battle of Winterfell,
Yeah.
bookend his entire story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a joy to play a character that is so clearly defined.
And it is, and you feel a lot of sympathy for him because his people have sort of become extinct. He's one of the last living giants, and it was very heartbreaking when he died. How extensive was the CGI, and how did they make you from you with, I'm assuming you had to wear all this rig on you for them to CGI the giant. How complex was that?
Very complex process, actually. There are several elements. First of all, the makeup. When we're talking about the stuff that's on me, we have the prosthetic makeup process, which is about 3.5 hours. Excuse me. The costume is all real, and it has substance, and it smells as well. You know, it smells of Game of Thrones. It smells of leather and fur and other Game of Thronesy things, and anything that I have to interact with. So, for example, a castle door that is reduced. Those props are reduced by 2/3.
Yeah.
So again, they help to sell the size of the giant. I don't come in until the scene is edited down. So everything that involves a human action is done first.
Mm-hmm.
The battle sequence, as an example, that's all done first, and then I come in when it's edited down and the scene is approved. Then I come in and I overlay my elements against the green screen using the props, etc., whatever that I have to use. In the Battle of Hardhome, there was a giant log that was lit on one end, and I had to swat zombies with. And I was on this massive treadmill, and they kept turning it up faster, faster, faster. I'm jogging along on this treadmill with this giant log. Yeah. So everything is done first, and then I come in, and my elements are the last elements to be shot.
Wow. You have worked on so many science fiction movies, television shows. As far as sheer awe in sets, budgeting, makeup that you have seen, which project for you was like the most impressive?
Goodness me, putting a gun to
I
my
know
head.
you've done so many. It's like which one? What the
Yeah.
aliens?
Well, they all mean different things for different reasons. You know, AVP was my first film, so that's obviously very, very special to me. Game of Thrones was just the most, it was the #1 TV show in the entire world
In the
for
world, yeah.
almost 10 years. So that's very special in that respect. Prometheus, working for Ridley Scott on basically what was an idea in his head for 30 years.
Exactly.
To finally bring that to life, that was
Yeah.
very, very special.
And that's actually my next question in regards to Ridley Scott. The man, I mean, a legend with Alien, Prometheus. What was it like working with Ridley?
He is a genius. He's an artist, and he's a gentleman.
Uh, working with him behind the camera, do you feel you have worked with various different directors. Everybody has their own technique and skill. Was there something about Ridley that stood out on how he conducts and, brings his vision to life?
Well, it's kind of the same with every project. The hard work is done before the cameras roll.
Mm-hmm.
When you're prepared. And I remember reading a magazine article, and it was Omid Jalali who was in Gladiator,
Yeah.
and he was recounting a story when he first stepped on set of Gladiator, and he was talking to somebody, and he said, "Look, I'm on a Ridley Scott film. How do I work? How do
I
I
know.
take direction from someone like that?" And the person he was talking to says, "You don't need to take direction. You're on a Ridley Scott film." It's such a relaxed atmosphere. As soon as you walk on set, there was one scene that we did with Guy Pearce and Michael Fassbender. We were there. There was a break in the camera setup. We shot one take, and then there was a break in the camera setup for some technical issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I just striking a conversation with Guy Pearce, and we just stood there talking, and what ended up being about 40, 50 minutes.
And he's just,
That
he's a legend. But once you start talking to them, they're just regular people, and it's amazing the when you talk to people like Ridley Scott, just and you get to hear their thoughts. Just you get a sense of where the brilliance and the creativity really comes from, and I think that's what makes them so special. I'm going to ask you a question that a lot of fans have in regards to acting in roles in whether it's movies or television, where you have to speak a fictional language. Okay, that must be very, very difficult. A lot of fans had this question for you. How do you go about not only a language that exists that you don't speak, but a fictional language? How do you prepare for that?
well, the times that I've done this, Game of Thrones and Prometheus, it was just written down. It's in the script,
Yeah,
and you learn it like you would normally
your
learn the
lines.
line.
Yeah.
The language in Prometheus was developed by a very learned linguist from a university in London. He's actually in the film. There's a scene close to the beginning of the film where Fassbender's character is speaking to a hologram and who's teaching him the alien language.
Yeah.
That is the professor who developed the language.
Oh.
That's the guy. And so I had a meeting with him, about an hour-long meeting, and we went through the finer nuances of the language, and he pointed it because when it was written down, I could read it, but it didn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
There were inflections and deep guttural noises in the throat and clicks and other sounds that formed part of the language of the communication.
Yeah.
That you just couldn't say, oh, you couldn't read off a page and say, oh, I know what that means.
Yeah.
You had to have it explained to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they had the producers gave me this practice piece of dialogue, and I spotted it immediately. It was Roy Batty's soliloquy from Blade Runner.
Oh.
Because there were a few things that weren't translated because they were names like Tannhauser Gate,
Mm-hmm.
or I forget what the other one was. Anyway, the names weren't translated into the alien language, and I recognized it immediately. And I went back to the producers and I said, "Listen, you've got to give me the words that I'm going to say in the film." Because I know what this is. This is Blade Runner. And every time I see it, read it, I read it in the voice of Rutger Hauer.
That is so funny. Uh, let's go more recently to one of your films. Now, The Reckoning, okay? The Reckoning is a film that one day I was just sitting on my couch trying to find something to watch. And these days we're just drowned in content. And trying to find something to watch is a pretty complicated ordeal. So I came across The Reckoning. The synopsis sounded really good. I ended up watching it. I loved the movie. You play Lucifer in The Reckoning, which is a break. It's really different from some of the other characters that you've played. So how do you get in the mindset of playing Lucifer himself?
Well, you see, those scenes were a figment of Charlotte's character's imagination.
Yeah.
She's undergoing this arduous, prolonged torture process, which involves, amongst other things, sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
And every time she drifts off, she dreams that she is visited by the devil.
Mm-hmm.
So everything in those scenes is a figment of her imagination. I just literally had to play along with her. Neil Marshall, he showed me this piece of art which inspired the whole scene. and it was this demon, this giant winged demon with these huge wings, embracing embracing a naked woman. And he said, "This is the inspiration for the scene," and kind of that was it. But we were in this set, the dungeon set, and we had to shoot various elements, over the course of the day. The whole thing was shot in a single day.
Wow.
All the demon elements.
Yeah.
And
so you were on set for just one day?
Yeah. Just doing the demon elements, just one day.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty cool. They got everything
It
done.
was a long day.
When you get a character to play, how important is it to you for you to fill in a backstory for that character to bring the best that you have to the screen? Let's say the producers, the writers don't really give that much of a backstory, and you need more. You feel you need more to accurately portray that character. So, is it really important for you as an actor to give your characters a backstory so you can bring it all?
Yeah, it's absolutely essential, in my opinion. It could be as little as just one line. I did a short scene in Robert Eggers' new film, which is out later on this year, and the character's not in. It's not a long scene at all. It was just a couple of pages of the script, but I ended up writing like a 4-page backstory for this character. It gave him an entire life. In terms of the devil in the Reckoning, not so much, but still tried to think it out.
Exactly. His backstory is pretty well known.
But it had to pertain to her imagination, but what she wanted from this interaction.
Yeah.
It depends on the character, but you've got to do some thinking. This is it's a process of thinking.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
to not do the thinking is kind of a dereliction of duty.
You seem to love to put on the makeup and play these science fiction characters from giants to aliens. Do you personally just have a blast and have a lot of fun doing that?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
These characters are great.
It's like Halloween every day, and you get paid for it. What more can you ask for?
The whole point of life is to have fun, isn't it? It's a difficult process. You got to get up early in the morning and spend hours in the makeup chair, and when you get on set, you're fighting things, and it's hard work. But at the end of the day, when you see that footage back, when the director says, "Come over here, have a look at this," it all goes away.
Yeah.
It really does. Because the only thing you really should be thinking about when you're in front of the camera is delivering the character.
Exactly. Delivering the character. When it's just you and you're at home and you want to watch something, what kind of movies are you drawn to personally? Dramas, science fiction, horror? What do you personally enjoy watching?
I like a good drama.
Okay.
I like a human story. I don't mind what genre it is. If it fits into a genre or just human life. But a good story is essential for me.
Absolutely, and that's true for a lot of people, me myself included. It could be a horror, it could be a drama, it could be a romantic comedy. It doesn't matter. But if the characters really draw you into the story, that's what nails it and brings it home for everybody. Ian, I want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing all these great stories. Are there any upcoming projects that we should keep an eye out coming from you?
I have a small part, like I said, in the Robert Eggers' new film, The Northman, starring Alexander Skarsgård. That is going to be epic. The trailer is out now. I show up a little bit in a new TV show, which will be on Disney Plus sometime later on this year.
Very nice. Very nice. Ian, thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you're out in the UK. Love the posters behind you of Aliens versus Predator. Those are absolutely phenomenal. We could also see your basketball jersey as well. That's a great backdrop. Again, thank you to our audience who are tuning in live and those of you who will watch this later on. Thank you to our mystical, magical friend Ian Whyte for being our guest today. Until next time, guys, on behalf of Ian and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Later.